Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the week again. It's time for some Suity Fruity! Here we are again. It's the second to last time that we'll be doing this for the CWC at least. And here we are once again with the boys, JB Hyperion, Nelly, and myself. How are you guys doing?
Hello, hello. Thank you for the introduction, as always. Doing really good. It's a nice day outside, but we're spending it inside as we can to catch some fruit, to watch some pros at work. Finals week time. It's that time again. It's coming around so fast.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's
time
gone.
definitely flies fast.
Yeah, especially in these pressing times, one would say. But yeah, it's been good fun so far. It's been great. And this round, again, was spectacular, really. 2 tiebreakers to be had, some blowouts as well, on the other hand. But entertainment nonetheless for all of us. So we're going to go through those matches from last week. We're going to go through the semifinals. And then afterwards, we're going to go through the predictions that we have for the finals week. See who we think will actually make it into the grand finals week, which will be next week. Only 3 teams will be left by then. It's scary times for all these 6 leftover teams, but we shall see how they'll fare. Alrighty. So let's just get started with the semifinals. Here we have the first match. We're going to go in bracket order, by the way, for everybody wondering. So we're firstly going to discuss the winners bracket matches, then we'll go to the first round of losers bracket, then we'll go to the second round of losers bracket matches in that order. So that would mean we'll have to start discussing Hong Kong versus France. And yeah, we've been saying that Hong Kong is incredibly strong this tournament, like every round so far. And that we expected them to have this drop-off towards the end of the tournament, where they would perform a bit weaker compared to how they performed in the previous round. So think of quarterfinals and round of 16. Those rounds where they really shown. But yeah, that drop-off is not quite apparent yet. It's not quite there yet. They're still really strong. Definitely stronger on like pretty much all mods compared to France. Definitely on double time is what I picked up mostly. No mod, on the other hand, was the one thing that some people, including myself, expected a bit of a coin toss to happen between these two teams, because France is just incredibly good at no mod. And that's exactly what happened. France did win a point there on no mod. Very close on some of the other picks as well. But the only other map that France won was a Hard Rock pick. And everything else was just blasted by Hong Kong. Hidden was a lot strong on there, and double time, as already mentioned. And, well, if the remainder of maps are coin tosses, then a result such as 7-2 in favor of Hong Kong, because I haven't said that yet, which is... I need to up my game. It's very expected when the teams perform in that particular way. So, yeah, 7-2 for Hong Kong.
Yeah, I remember during predictions with Zach last week, I said that France had more desire, more heart to win. And you said you would laugh at me for me being proven wrong immediately. So here I am, extending your opportunity to laugh at me. France did really well, but Hong Kong were just too strong. There was very few weaknesses in the Hong Kong roster at all, and it showed that they're scaling really well, even this late in the tournament, with how hard the map pool is this year.
Yeah, I mean, Hong Kong itself is like the first ever top 3 in the whole CWC. Before, like they were basically like the remainings of top 8 for like, I don't know, I think for 5 years, and now it's definitely their only chance, I think, facing against South Korea. But I'm obviously going forward. But yeah, it's kind of like right now it's expected matchup. Hong Kong right now is definitely a true juggernaut compared to South Korea. But yeah, really expected match.
Yeah, Hong Kong been 5th and 6th 2 times, and then 7th to 8th 2 times. So they've got a good track record of making it to finals week. But this is the first time that they'll be breaking into that podium spot. France, for their part, also would have been their first podium had they secured that. And they've had a few good 5th and 6th place finishes as well. It had the recipe to be a really close match, but with Hong Kong being just that little bit stronger and a lot of matches going to kind of like that coin toss situation, as you said, Sarton, Hong Kong's consistency just won out, and they ended up taking that one.
Exactly. Really, the coin toss was only like something that they had to worry about in terms of no mod and Hard Rock, just because the French players are really good on both those mods. But even something like double time, France is considerably strong at, and maybe like a top 4 performing team in the entire tournament, even like considering teams that have already dropped off. But no, like they just weren't able to pull it off against Hong Kong this late into the tournament, which is peculiar, but nice to see from Hong Kong. It's good to see some new people making it to podium place, such as Hong Kong or France, if they would have won, but that's not the case this time around. So well played there by Hong Kong, 7-2 in that first match. And they're not looking like they'll get any weaker anytime soon quite yet. We'll see against South Korea, because that's a whole different story too. Actually, the match that we're going to discuss right now, which is South Korea versus the Philippines. And this is one of those blowouts that happened. 7-0 for South Korea against the Philippines in winners bracket. Yeah, like
boring. Next. Sorry, I just said that. I'm not saying that to anything.
Philippines, incredible. But honestly speaking, it was quite the one-sided match indeed. Like Nelly would indeed suggest in that way. It's just so good. South Korea's just so good on all mods. They don't lack any sort of player. They don't need to fill on any sort of map. Their team is so diverse, and it shows on all of these maps. It just didn't seem like Philippines really had a shot at any of these maps. Score differences were like really big on pretty much every map. I'm pretty sure there was like none under 100k. Yeah, just one that was 106,000, and the rest was like closer to 200 to 300,000. And don't get me wrong, Philippines isn't bad at all. Like they made it this far into winners bracket, right? You can't call them bad. That's illegal to do. So they aren't bad. Even though they are very like unstable in this tournament, I would say pretty volatile in the terms of their performance. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not quite on the level that we expect them to be. And this match, they didn't play on that level that I wanted them to be at quite. But yeah, even if they did, probably no chance against South Korea, right?
Yeah, I mean, for Philippines, it was like an unfortunate matchup facing against South Korea, which again, another juggernaut when it comes to CWC. I would say the final boss. And once again, a little bit going like outside of Philippines for a second, Korea, like again, proven again that even with completely different roster, they could still compete in a very high caliber. There were previous players before, like, so, I don't know, like Spectator, Rockba, and probably like few people in the roster. It's like one of them is Berea. Probably it's either Rails or R18, but at this point I'm just confusing. But yeah, like a whole different roster, but it feels like South Korea has always been on top. Like they definitely have enough players. Philippines, unfortunately, it's not the case. They have to rely on purposely on the real alt guards. I would say that, although there is one addition which is rusty, but unfortunately, like it's a little bit unlucky for Philippines. Obviously, like matchups of Korea. I mean, come on. Plus, like there was a little bit, I would say, a bit troubleshooting from the team because from Reuters' perspective, his hands kind of hurt. So obviously, like we don't know many details. Yeah, it's really unfortunate for them.
I agree that Roydo's hand problems were unfortunate, but I don't think you can really say Philippines were unlucky to face South Korea. They're in the last six.
Yeah.
South Korea are a team that you have to fight eventually if you want to get to a podium and eventually win. So, I mean, they were quite lucky that they didn't encounter them till this point, I would say. It is still Philippines' best performance in CWC, the first time that they'll be in the top 6. So, really good. A lot of teams, when they're going up against a team like South Korea, if we think of teams like Philippines and Italy, they have like 2 really good players. For Philippines, it's typically Voido and Bunrae, and then that third player that's not quite as good. And that happened here to a lesser extent, but almost always all of South Korea's roster were scoring higher than all of Philippines' roster. Unless something catastrophic happened to the South Korean performance, there was never really a chance where Philippines were able to get into this game. And it just shows how dominant South Korea are this year. That they can beat a team like Philippines, who are by no means a bad team at all. They wouldn't be in the top 6 if they were a bad tournament team. But to beat a team of that caliber 7-0 is very impressive.
Exactly. So, yeah, we just all agree on that fact that South Korea, as always, looking like, well, perhaps the strongest this year. We don't know yet, but we'll see eventually, and we'll see a very nice match between them and Hong Kong in about 49 minutes. So You gotta stay here. You gotta stay here. Even if you don't like the recap, you still have to stay.
That's all upper bracket.
Yeah,
Now
that's
it's
it
time
for
for
the winners bracket of
losers.
last week. Yeah. You can get started on this one, I believe, Nelly. This is Russia versus Italy, which ended up 7-4 in favor of Russia. So, what is your personal experience?
I mean, Italy, like, from the beginning, Italy themselves, like, said, like, probably a few players saying, like, they would join only because, like, to get to top seed and then, like, let's see how it goes. But fairly speaking, Italy is like us, like, on Nobot, on Hard Rock, and even Double Time, like, it's all solid. Like, the only thing that kind of, like, I would say divide us is literally how we would prefer the battle, because we did fairly good in my opinion. Italy, not really sure for Italy though, honestly, but they were a little bit like unlucky runs for definitely. I'm sorry for some people saying that they would expect a hidden matchup, but let's be fair, like there's no way one of us will actually do that. But yeah.
I was going to mention that, Nelly, because I was kind of following that match, and Sarton and Seka in particular,
like both of you guys
were screaming in the chat, "Pick hidden! We demand hidden!" They wanted to see it so badly.
I saw that on. Yeah, I even saw that on some servers, like in Discord servers, like where's hidden? When's hidden? And I said no, please. And even in Saudi, I mentioned like, can you like you guys pick hidden? And I said no, don't freaking dare. It would be a freaking disaster.
That would have been, the interaction would have been very interesting in our opinion, because we know that both of you don't like to play it, so that's why we wanted to push you to the edge and be like, go do it, do it.
I mean, to be fair, like we're one of the worst. I mean, like Italy and us, like we're like the worst hidden players of all time. I don't know. So.
I mean, yeah, honestly speaking, that's fine to the tournament. Italy and Russia, probably the worst hidden teams from all teams, considering what we had left. And we didn't see a single hidden map being played in your match because of that, indeed. And yeah, everything else was like, as you said, you guys have the same sort of skill sets, like all across. So it could have gone either way. I did predict Italy, I believe. I'm not entirely sure on this one anymore, but because I'm not sure, it also goes to show that, you know, either prediction to me would have made a lot of sense. And yeah, from all of this, the only thing that I noticed is that Italy was like more mediocre on no mod than they usually are. They are usually really strong on no mod, but I did see a few weird hiccups from Kame, sometimes from Arma as well. It was a little peculiar to see, but they did a FC Oceanus, a triple FC on that, so I mean, they can do it if they want to, but they just didn't do it all the time. And then Hard Rock and Double Time were really close. It was a way closer match anyway than the Philippines and South Korea, not just in terms of scoreline, but also in terms of the score differences between the maps every single time. So, good match, and Italy had to leave that tournament, and then they weren't able to make it further than top, not 12?
12.
8.
9.
No,
wait, Italy 12.
9th to 12.
Yeah, 9th to 12 indeed. Yeah, because the loser from the loser bracket matches, the second loser bracket matches of that week were top 8. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, some people expected better from Italy. There's always this idea behind Italy that they could be so good if they had a third Arma and Kame, I should say now. They weren't able to quite do that, sadly, this year, which is unfortunate. Even though we did all believe they had a stronger team than last year, where they made it to top 4, but that's just kind of how it is. But Russia, on the other hand, doing a lot better than last year and just proving that they are really good too. Nelly, you're so good. We're proud of you. And especially in like the tournament serve, we were all like discussing how Nelly was actually like performing incredibly well this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, everyone mentioned either Sonia Memorial or like me. Yeah.
We all love you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
coming
back from 4-2 down to win 7-4 was pretty impressive. I liked how close the match was. I think you said, Sutton, there was one game that was 100,000 points difference, and then everything else was like less than kind of 70, 80,000. It was lots of really close matches. Really good game.
Exactly. Yeah. Fully agree with that, and I think that kind of concludes for that match what we want to say. I think we can move on to Chile versus Canada, which is a tiebreaker game in the losers bracket that happens.
This one is like any pick'em guys were like, wait, how did that happen? Like, how did Canada win? How did they reach tiebreaker? Like,
I don't think it's
and stuff
quite
like
so
that.
kind of one-sided as you would have suggested.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
they're both very good teams. I could easily have seen this go either way, and it nearly did. It was a tiebreaker, 7-6.
I called the
favor of
tiebreaker.
Canada.
I did it.
He did. Big bonus
Yes.
points.
I just expected Chile to win a tiebreaker, so I wasn't
me
completely
too.
right. So
You salvaged
I
1
expected
point.
I expected Chile to win, but not Canada, which is really impressive.
yeah. So yeah, Canada won that 7-6 for the people that don't know, and honestly, I mostly believe this came down to the mediocre-ish performance from Chile. I expect them to do a lot better than what they performed like against Canada. The one thing that showcased that a lot, I believe, is the way they played on hidden, because Chile should just be a stronger team than Canada. Period. No questions asked, but they struggled like a lot to win those initial 2 hidden picks because they just immediately went for picking hidden because, you know, they should win it. Everybody expects Chile to do better on hidden, but they struggled a lot. They weren't quite able to fetch those points so very easily, and that might have thrown them off the game a little bit. I mean, the first hidden pick did have a very clear score difference in favor of Chile, but the scores weren't like incredibly high in there, and that mostly came down to Henrik having a really bad run, which he didn't do in the later match that Canada played. And the second one had a score difference of 22,000. I mean, that's like nothing, basically. That's less than a miss, and Chile barely lost that one because of it. And all other maps kind of had the same vibe to it in the sense that we all expected Chile to just do a bit better, and we've seen them do better, but they weren't able to pull it off. And that gave Canada, really? The mix of Chile and Canada, the monster. But that gave Canada... Oh my god, I can't pronounce Canada anymore. That's weird. That gave them the opportunity to actually be able to get to 7-6 in the first place. And that's exactly what they capitalized on. They did really well in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want definitely to say, like, although like Chile's been famous for their hidden plays, like, after like a hidden picks were over, you can definitely see Chile's just struggling to Canada because Canada, like overall, like they're really good performances, like on other bows, like they can sort of close others, but maybe hidden like is a little bit of lackluster against Chile. But yeah, I would definitely say like watching this now, compare like to a few days later on in live and stuff, I would say probably Chile like not expected to see like their kind of opponent just I don't know, practicing the map pull way better than Canada.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe JBF has something to add to that?
No, nothing really to add to what you guys have said. The only thing I do want to mention, though, is whilst Canada looked fairly kind of evenly strong across the kind of the variety of the mod pools, and they did look exceptionally strong on the tiebreaker. I'm not sure how much they practiced that, but they were a very good team unit on the tiebreaker. They were warned multiple times for drawing out the kind of timer to like the absolute maximum, and I don't think they will get as many warnings if it happens again. And I don't want to see a match swung in one direction or the other because a player gets swapped in that wasn't supposed to be in, but they weren't in time, or a pick gets chosen randomly because they didn't select in time. So if I were Canada, I would have that in the back of my mind and just make sure that they don't go anywhere near timers this week running out, because that is not how they want to lose a match.
Yeah, there was a few cases in matches where this happened at the time. It just felt really short for some teams, and yeah, they're going to have to account for that definitely in this week's match because they made it through, spoiler alert. But we'll get into that loss of Russia in a second, and he can rage all he wants about it because I assume you're not so happy about that match. But we'll get into that match in a bit. We'll firstly continue to the, I think, final... No, not quite yet. No, there were 2 more matches in the first round of the loser bracket, so the second to last one being United States versus Australia. Australia, a team that hasn't ever really gotten this far into the tournament, I'm pretty sure. And USA being quite used to being in this spot by now, right? Regardless of the type of team composition they're rocking with, even though their team is like a little different and a little weirder as to what they are normally dealing with, they're still like very used to this spot. And It shows. It really shows. They beat Australia 7-0 quite handily. But I wouldn't say it was that big of a blowout as it was with South Korea and Philippines. I do believe that Australia had a shot at a few maps. There were close score differences too, like 25,000, even though that was like just one odd case. The rest was like around 100 to 200,000 mostly. And honestly, like overall performance was just better on USA. They just basically have the better players on their team, and that translates to being better on pretty much every single mod, including Australia's picks. So yeah, even though Australia could have won a few points, I don't believe they would have been able to win the match in the end. And it's just the tournament prestige that USA was able to build up until this point, and just the average play skill on their end. I think it's really just that where it boils down to. Australia had a good run this tournament, and they didn't have like the toughest of opponents in any round, but this was a little too much for them.
Yeah, well, I think it's you make your own luck to a certain extent, and if you get given weaker opponents, then you only beat what's in front of you. So I'm not going to hold that against Australia that they made the run that they did.
No grudge. Yeah.
It's the first time that they've gotten out of a groups even since 2015 was the last time it happened. And it's the first time that they've won a knockout match as well, so their best ever performance in CWC. And they just came up against a team from the US that, whilst missing Rossold, who is one of, if not their historically best player, is still a very strong team. And American were just better on the day. Australia have no real kind of complaints there, I think. They'll be very happy with this tournament overall.
Yeah, I think for Australia, they probably could have taken like probably a few maps. I can't really properly remember, but there were some of the maps that they like. The score difference was definitely on their side, but for some reason they they missed closer to the end, and the score difference went back to US again. So yeah, it's probably not their best day for Australia. But nothing would like be different than the US versus China. This one is
yeah. The
yeah.
match that happened after that was incredible nonetheless. But China first had to face a different opponent too, being Indonesia, which we'll get into now in the first round of the losers bracket from semifinals. There's a lot of wording, but gotta take it from me, chat. It was Indonesia actually performed all right, and China for this round didn't feel like the usual China. It's like 80% of what they are most of the time, and because of that, Indonesia had a good shot at like getting a few points here too. Other than that, one thing I want to know before we even start talking about the entire match is the incredible fact that there were two score differences that were so close, like so close. It never happens like twice in a match, and the score difference were 1145 and 508 points on
508 was Oceanos, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure about the 1,000 points though.
And the 1,145 was Sutuga. So
it was Cthulhu, yeah.
Cthulhu, yeah. The
No More
2 map, which had a lot of misses too. It wasn't like it was a spinning difference. There were like a plethora of misses on both teams. Oceanus, on the other hand, also had like 3 misses from 2 players and then a 5 and a 6 miss. So that as well was just... There were plenty of misses, and it still came down to a spinnable difference. So both of these were also lost by Indonesia, I'm pretty sure. So as you can see, that 7-3 scoreline could have been 5-5 very easily if they caught literally 4 more bananas within those 2 maps. So Indonesia had a good shot at it. But in general, China seemed to be a tad bit stronger, especially on Hidden. So China absolutely blew Indonesia out of the water with Hidden for the most part. Didn't really have a good shot at taking any of those 2 maps that they played. Other than that, Indonesia has always been known for being a very decent hard rock and double time country. And exactly that happened in this game. It was a coin toss for the most part. They were able to pick up their points through those kind of maps mostly. But yeah, very close differences between those 2 maps that could have swung the game like the other way around too, really, if you think about it.
Cthulhu was a victory for Indonesia by 1100, but Oceanus, you're right, was China's victory by 500. So it wouldn't quite have been 5-all,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it was
my bad.
still would have been a little bit more favourable for.
I hyped it up
Indonesia.
too much. I'm sorry. Gotcha. But yeah, all right by China, but not quite on the level as we had expected them to play in this tournament. I did like the only mod that I do believe that they really played on their level with was Hidden, as already mentioned. Anything else, not quite what we wanted to see, and that will show in the upcoming match that was played with like USA versus China. We'll get into that in a minute.
Like, you mentioned that China were only playing at kind of, I think you said 80% of their kind of peak. I mean, 80% peak China is still a really good team, but it's showing compared to the China that we've known for the past, I think, 6 years or so, and we'll obviously, as you said, get into that. Yeah, it was a bit, like, strange seeing China not just kind of sweep every team that isn't South Korea away when you get to map pools that are this difficult.
It maybe had to do with the roster swaps that they had, missing out on Nagi. But then again, the Hidden was still stronger than most of the other teams in this tournament, including in this round. Like just comparing the teams, even if they didn't play against each other, China was still really good on Hidden compared to those other teams too. So we will never know. We will really never know. But spoiler, they are out of the tournament. But yeah. That's the last match we'll be discussing. We have one match before that, and that's Russia versus Canada. And Nelly can just go ahead and rave on about what happened here. It was a win on the end of Canada, 7-4. So yeah, what happened, Nelly?
I think that's where the inconsistency comes with one of our teammates happening. At the start, like I would say, like around map 4th, to Hidden, and then probably 2 Hard Rocks. Like after that, you could after that, and some inconsistency happened with one of our members. I've told them, everyone that we should probably do a timeout. Like we should probably swap on player, but no, it didn't happen. Like we tried to play our best, but yeah, Canada was just better. I'm not rambling too much anyway, so...
No, you sound pretty content with what happened. It's fine, but it's always nice to have that play experience.
I'll say we were just unfortunate.
We'll just say things that just don't make sense, and, it's always nice to have the play talking us through. But indeed, like, the only thing that we kind of knew beforehand is the fact that Canada would definitely beat you guys on Hidden. It happened. Exactly. Yeah, when you guys expected it.
When you asked Nelly at the beginning, like, what happened, I was just going to say Hidden happened.
Hidden happened.
Exactly, and that's where Canada was able to pick up points very handily. They performed a lot better on Hidden in this match compared to the match that they had versus Chile, I would say. So even in that sense, Russia definitely not really having a good shot at it. But anything else? Very close overall. I'm pretty sure you guys picked first on Astronauts, right? And that kind of already shifted the momentum in favor of Canada right from the get-go, because Canada won that by 12,000 points over you guys, which is like incredibly unfortunate for you guys. And it's just isn't
that Hidden 1? I can't remember.
Astronauts was Hard Rock 1.
Yeah.
That was our pick.
Immediately went for Hidden and just kind of steamrolled you guys.
Like that map we should have won, but unlucky moment happened. Like it's very typical for tournaments anyway.
Yeah, and from that point onward, it was a uphill battle for you guys, and you guys did really well, and it was very close most of the time. But towards the end, you guys just didn't really have the fuel anymore, and one slip up really led to you guys losing that game to Canada. Even though I had expected you guys to win this one, honestly speaking, I was proven wrong with my predictions like 3 times this round. It never happens that late into the tournament. I don't want to flex, right? I'm all right with predicting matches for the most part. There were 8 matches, and I was wrong with like the team outcome 3 times. That has never happened like this late into a tournament for me. So you guys ruined it, Russia. You ruined it.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't apologize for that. It was.
We've already. Game. I mean, let's be honest. we're like official like ruin the map pick like pick'ems like after Italy versus us. Like everyone's just going for Italy and then us 30%. Like yeah, we won. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's exactly, those matches are all the matches that I just predicted wrong as well. But yeah, both of you guys really strong tournament teams by now, and you've grown so much in the past few years that it's very nice to see to face each other off like this. 7-4, sadly no tiebreaker. It could have happened really. Maybe you guys just have to consider a bit of hidden gameplay for next year, and you'll be very fine, and you'll probably be able to get even further into the tournament, which we are very much looking forward to. So 7-4 in favor of Canada. Well played to you guys too. And yeah, Canada, because of this, made it to this round, and they are now in the finals of losers bracket 2.
Yeah, probably also the first time.
First time as well. Yeah, this is their best results ever. Lots of teams with their best results ever in the tournament left, like Philippines, like France. All of them just the best results in like at least a long time, if not forever. So nice to see this kind of variation in the teams that we're seeing in the finals round. Even though South Korea is still in here and still looking really good.
Yeah.
But, who knows? Who knows, right? The map pools are different. Maybe favor South Korea more, maybe the other teams. We'll get into that. But then the last match.
Just before you move on, Sam, I just wanted to add on.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, there was a point when Canada were 5-1 up against Russia in this match, and they still brought it back to 7-4, which I thought was really impressive. It was lots of character. Russian teams, and you might disagree with me, Nelly, this is just a personal observation. When things don't go your way, some members in the past have kind of had like mental boom moments, and it's all gone horribly wrong. And yeah, but you showed a lot more character this time, and I was very impressed by that. And when you see a scoreline that's like 7-4, and you know, okay, well, Canada are probably going to win the hidden picks by big margins, you think that's a really close match, and it was. But I think only 3 of the 11 games had a score difference under 100,000. So towards the end, you were both kind of like sucker punching each other and knocking the other person to the floor and then getting back up, and it was a real slugfest of a match. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, we probably could have repeated that. The same with Italy. Like we also like it was all honestly a really similar game. Like we were losing like at the start, but like we were just crumbling back like at the end. So it could happen with Canada, but yeah, we were just unlucky this time.
And that's kind of how it goes. It could have been Canada very much as well. They could have been an unlucky team, and that's the stage we're at. The teams are just very similar to each other, and anything that goes from here will also be, or at least have a bit of a luck factor to it as well, I would say. So well played to you guys once again. And that was it for you guys in the tournament. Making it to top 8, very nice. And Canada now in top 6, going to battle for more. And we'll see how they are able to fare. And then the final match we had the weekend of the weekend, which I think was the favorite match for most people, was the USA versus China match, which was the second tiebreaker match of that weekend. And this is exactly where that 80% of China's power just became very apparent here, because I do believe that most people expected China to still win over USA because of the USA roster swaps, which admittedly was also the case for China. They had a few roster swaps as well, but no, the United States took it 76. They were able to win. China was a lot stronger on the hidden. Again, coming back to the point where China is probably still the second strongest, maybe strongest hidden team that was in the tournament at that point. But USA was stronger on primarily no mod, is what I saw. Pretty close calls most of the time, but they managed. And Hard Rock and Double Time, as expected, were a bit of a coin toss again, because USA has these really good players on Hard Rock Double Time, and China does as well, and they're very similar in terms of like their level. So that led to the tiebreak in the end, and USA actually won that one quite comfortably, that tiebreaker. Almost 100,000 points of difference. Is really good performance at the end. Like a lot better than Canada too. Like Canada had a good performance in tiebreaker, but USA even better in that sense. And China had a more Canada-esque performance on that tiebreaker, kind of showcasing the power level between those teams. And they were not able to win that against the USA, and that resulted in their, I'm pretty sure, literal worst result since 2015 or so, right?
Yeah. So 2015 they had 2014, sorry, they had a real shocker and went out in group stages. But every single time since then, they've either been first, in 2018 and 2016, or second in the other intervening years. So, unfortunately, yeah, the worst performance from China in 6 years. And on the contrary, the US qualify for the top 6 for the 6th year in a row. So they have another shot at adding to their 2 existing podiums that they got in 2020 and 2018.
Yeah, honestly, like I myself, like while I was watching this match, I was wondering like what just happened with China. Like, I mean, yeah, like they had roster changes, but US also did roster changes. But overall, just US was better. Like playing, like they were like mostly comfortable playing Maple than China, I think. But I'm not so sure, like till the end.
I mean, they were both good, and that's what ended up being a tiebreaker in the end. I mean, it's not like China wasn't able to counter the USA at all, but
Yeah, I know.
in the end, yeah, it was just not quite the performance that everybody expected them to show in this tournament. Well, there were some skeptics, and they're proven right. Cuff Andy, so congratulations on that. But yeah, USA ended being a tad bit stronger. Maybe this is a weird or wrong claim that I'm making here, but if I do a little bit of napkin math, like looking at the multiplayer lobby, I would say that China accumulated like more score in total when you like add up all maps. So their wins were like bigger than the ones from the USA for the most part. But it was still so very close that, yeah, USA was able to do it with a few roster changes without like the A grade team or like A minus. And China, yeah, weird year for them. Not sure if it's mostly due to Nagi not playing, whether there were other things going on within the team itself. Still really good, top 8. Don't diss them on that, and don't get mad if you're a China fan. They still performed really nicely, and they had a really rough bracket as well, playing Hong Kong very early, where Hong Kong is like the monster, the best team in the entire tournament, then having to face USA in the loser bracket before finals happening. So still a very rough path for them, and that's also what added up to this being the final result. But yeah, we'll see China stronger, definitely. Like in the future, again, they're gonna pick up the game. They'll want to go for those podium spots again, and USA is gonna battle it out in the upcoming round. With the few leftover loser bracket countries, we're only going to have one of those 4 make it through the next round. So, yeah.
Just to add to what you said about how the US won a lot of their maps by small margins. The US won the first 3 points, including 1 break point, by a combined 27,000. And on Astronautes, that win was by 787 points. And then China picked hidden and won by 406,000. So, yeah, everything that's been said completely kind of backed up there. Like, the US had a little bit of luck, but they importantly capitalized on that luck. When China faltered, they were there and ready to pounce, and they made it count.
Yeah,
exactly. Very true indeed. So that's kind of what the semifinals was all about, everybody. That's the recap for that part, I'm pretty sure. Those were all 8
time
matches.
for finals review.
Yeah, time for the review. We're still gonna have to see those matches, but we're gonna predict them as best as we can. There's 3 matches that are surely gonna happen. We're not gonna go into the conditional matches, but yeah, this is gonna be hard for us to call. So there's 3 matches that are definitely happening. So we're just gonna delve into those. We're not really gonna go into the entire but what if this team wins and this team wins? What would then happen in the future matchup in the final losers bracket game? That would be a little too much effort. So the only match that we're going to be discussing is the winners match, Hong Kong versus South Korea, 2 teams that are guaranteed top 3 already. And we'll go into France versus Canada, and then finally we'll go into Philippines versus the United States, both being in the losers bracket. Starting off with winners bracket, Hong Kong, South Korea. And here we might just see the drop-off effect of Hong Kong combined with the South Korean powerhouse effect. So I wonder how this will go. This could go 2 ways. Either Hong Kong will just not have the drop-off effect, or it won't be as apparent, meaning that they, as we predicted at least, would perform worse in later stages because the map pools will become harder and the players on the end of Hong Kong aren't really used to playing these kind of maps on that level. Either it will happen that prediction is right and they'll be playing worse compared to the other rounds, and South Korea is very likely just going to hold on to the steady track record and do very well in that match, and it might just become a blowout just because of that. Or Hong Kong will prove us all wrong, and they'll just be as strong as in the previous rounds, including like semifinals where they were really strong as well, and give South Korea a very hard time and a run for their money. So, in terms of scoreline, I'm still thinking that Hong Kong is going to struggle more on this map pool than they used to in the previous map pools, and South Korea obviously is not, because we know them by now, and these guys are not going to struggle on maps like these. I was able to see like a stream from QWH, for example, and he's still performing so incredibly well.
Oh, I also
Not
seen
struggling
that.
too much. Yeah,
I
you
also
also
seen that.
QWH
A
fan
little
club. Woo!
Yay, let's go.
Yay, indeed. So I'm calling a this might sound really rough in Hong Kong, but a 7-1 scoreline if what I predict will happen will indeed happen. But we'll see very early on in the match whether Hong Kong is going to be able to perform or not. Otherwise, that might be a lot closer. But I believe South Korea 7-1 is going to take this match fairly all right.
Yeah, it's gonna like that match is gonna happen in 19 minutes, by the way. But yeah, at this point, like when we reach further to the bracket, everything comes down with the map pool, and I think South Korea will definitely still be comfortable, even though maps getting harder, more progressive. And I'm not really sure for Hong Kong. Like they have to play out of their minds just to be South Korea. So for me, like my final prediction would be 7-2, but who knows? It's still really hard to predict for me. Everything
Yeah.
could happen at this point.
Hong Kong have had a fantastic tournament and have definitely been like the breakout team that have performed. Like they've overperformed compared to their previous performances more than any other team, I think, this World Cup. And I really, really want them to just go on a complete tear and surprise everyone once again. But South Korea have lost one game this entire tournament against Italy in the quarterfinals. Oh, sorry, against Chile, not against Italy. They've lost one single game. They won all of their group stage matches 5-0. Round of 16 against Australia, 6-0. They lost 1 point, 6-1 to Chile in quarterfinals. And then in the semifinals last week, 7-0 against Philippines. They are a juggernaut. And the teams that would normally be competing against them, like China, like the US, seem slightly weaker this year. And I think that's why Hong Kong looks so much stronger. It's not because South Korea are weak. It's because other teams that are around Hong Kong's level aren't quite at the level that they've performed at previous years. I would love, in my heart of hearts, to see Hong Kong take this. But every piece of evidence says that South Korea are going to stomp. And there's just nothing. No one in this tournament is going to scale better than South Korea, and the map pools are getting harder, so this suits South Korea down to the ground.
Yeah.
In terms of scoreline, what do you think, JBH?
I never predict score, and you know I'm not going to again.
You into it. You're not doing it.
Yeah, he's not doing it.
We've worked so many weeks in a row.
But still.
Well, JBH predicts a 7-0. I hear it in my second earbuds, which are underneath.
You can believe whatever you want to believe. You laughed at me for my predictions last time, so I'm not giving you the satisfaction this time around.
Okay. Always a buzzkill, this man. Incredible.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a joke at this, man. Like,
not ever. Nope.
Yeah.
Difficult Brit. But what can you do? We'll continue. We'll go to France versus Canada now, which is the losers bracket match between the two. And this time around, both of these teams have very similar skill sets. Just like the Russia-Canada match, just like the Canada... Well, actually, not quite like the Canada-Chile match, but more like the Russia-Canada match. I feel like this will have the same sort of dynamic to it. France is better on hidden than Russia, but if Canada does well, they should still technically be like confidently better than France on hidden. Anything else, coin toss. So Nomad has been really great on the end of France for this entire tournament so far. Maybe better than any team so far. Canada has these really high-end Nomad players too, though, and the map pool is a bit harder. And I wonder how the French players will scale compared to the Canadian players. They're very similarly ranked, though, so you might be able to suggest in that breath that, okay, they should be fairly competent and fairly competitive on all those Nomad maps. Same for Hard Rock, same for Double Time, even though I might believe Canada has a slight, ever so slight edge over those maps compared to France. But that's just like going off of like rankings and maybe like past tournament experience a little bit. But then again, Boros showed some really nice performance on Twitter in recent days as well. For example, he's like one of those main figures for the double time hard rock picks on France. So maybe I'll be proven wrong, or France might be a bit better. It's a really tough one to call. It will happen at 6 p.m. UTC today, and I think Canada should have a bit more ammo, and France will, just because of the losses they'll very likely have on Hidden, not be able to win. But I just feel like my prediction will be completely wrong if I say that, and this is the vice versa if I say that France will win. I'll just call a tiebreaker, and the score prediction, I'll then believe that Canada should be a bit better than France. But I genuinely believe that a tiebreaker is very possible between these two teams, and it mostly will come down to like who has the early momentum in the match.
You might be the only one who's voting for Canada to win. Like, I'll be honest, but like maybe, but it's honestly the same match, like the same vibe as Hong Kong versus South Korea. Like, France is definitely like really solid in Nova, like historically speaking, and Canada is like one of the underdog that's still like even to this CWC, like compared to the previous, they're still kind of an underdog in my opinion. But if Canada would underperform, then I would definitely play on the map pool. But I will definitely say that France gonna win. Though I may agree with Soren that if Canada, like, again, like for Hong Kong, if they will play out of their minds, like complete focus, then they could definitely reach the tiebreaker. But my heart still calls for France to win. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think France are a little bit stronger in terms of like scaling of the pool and tournament experience. But one thing I think is going to be really interesting is both France and Canada have teams full of players that really seem to like and perform really well on these kind of technical, gimmicky, odd maps that we've seen so many of in not only the converts, but now also coming into the catch-specific maps as well in this later stage of the tournament. So I think that both teams, I mean, I don't want to say that they're masochistic, but both teams might actually quite enjoy a lot that's in this map pool. So I don't think there's going to be many kind of avenues where one team can say we are clearly better than our opponents at this particular thing. But I am going to say that France are going to kind of just scale slightly better than Canada. Also, they've overcome Taiwan, they beat the US, and they didn't do so well against Hong Kong, but we've seen how strong Hong Kong have been this tournament. Canada struggled a little bit against the US, but then bounced back and they beat Chile and then Russia obviously as well. I think France have overcome slightly stronger opposition, and they're just, the momentum is a little bit more behind them than it is Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, nice addition about the map pool there. You're right in the sense I played the map pool for a change, and indeed there are some really quirky picks, including like Nomad picks, such as Nomad 1, map by FD Fluoride. So I believe that, yeah, France should be stronger on those kind of maps. Nomad 2 as well. But I believe Canada has some very nice maps in that map pool too. And yeah, I pretty much told my story already, but I am predicting that tiebreaker still. You haven't changed my mind quite yet. We have one more match to predict here anyway. That's going to be the USA versus the Philippines in losers bracket, the very final match we're going to be predicting for today. And I think that USA is looking better than Philippines in general at the moment. I believe the Philippines had a bit of a weird round against South Korea, not because they lost, but because their performance was also not quite up to the level that we expected them to play at, which I already mentioned, even though if they did, it wouldn't really have made a difference against South Korea, but it would make a difference against a team like the USA, I do believe. And USA has proven to be more consistent in that sense. They seem to be a bit stronger than, for example, a team like Canada as well this year. When you compare the results from like semifinals and a team like France, gave them a very rough match early on in the tournament. And on map pools like these, USA might be able to bounce back a little bit. But Philippines, I don't think they're quite on the same level as the other 3 teams at the moment. Just because they seem to underperform as to what they are able to do, but they could be on that same level as the other teams. They very much could be, but they haven't really shown that in this tournament so far yet. And I was not entirely sure, but one of you two said that Roy had like problems with his hand or so last week as well, which I hope are fixed by now. But if they aren't, that might have an influence on the match too. And because of that, I believe that both picks on the USA will go quite well, and the Philippines will mostly be fighting the uphill battle against USA here. Maybe able to take up a few points, but I do believe that USA should come out of this match fairly strong, and I believe that the score could perhaps go to let's say 7-2.
I would honestly say it's 7-1. It's 7-1. But yeah, I think
you're allowed to.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I think for US, they have a much better roster than Philippines. For Philippines, I would name Bandre as high caliber player, but what about others? Honestly, I'm not really sure. Maybe for various modes hidden, I would say double time hard might be a little bit better for Philippines, but yeah, I think so. I think for US, they have a really solid run. They could probably close in 7-2, 7-1. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm going to just contest a little bit, and I'm not going to say Philippines don't have good players, because they do have really good players. But I will agree with you that I think the US have better tournament players. I think that everyone on that team is more experienced and performs better under the tournament situation in general than the members on the Philippine roster. And when it comes to a situation like this, where you're in the top 6, you're fighting for a spot on the podium, the US have the experience, they have the knowledge of that pressure, they do perform better under pressure. We've seen them win 2 tiebreakers already. They lost 1 tiebreaker to France, but they beat China in the tiebreaker. And I just think that Philippines are going to find themselves slightly lacking here against the US, just because of tournament performance.
Yeah, and as you said, in tournament players, Roydo is the only active player that constantly plays tournaments. And for US, you could definitely name a few. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that will definitely go to show in this game. So I think this is the one prediction we're very much level-headed at, and we believe that US should be the strongest team of Philippines. But I hope the Philippines will finally really show what they are made of, because I just feel that even though this is the best result in the tournament so far, if they perform like they have in some other tournaments, they might be considered even stronger in this tournament too. I don't believe that this is the year in terms of performance on maps, but more they were able to make it very far into the tournament because of some other teams getting a little weaker too, which is very much respectable. They're still really strong, obviously. Getting top 6 is still a feat of its own, but yeah, USA should be stronger in this instance. And that kind of rounds it up for the predictions as well. We're not going to
made it in time though.
Yeah, 5 minutes to spare.
For the first time ever, we have time left. You guys can redress properly for the upcoming match, because these two very fancy and lovely lads will be commentating the first upcoming match of this weekend, which will happen in exactly 6 minutes, that being Hong Kong versus South Korea. So I wish you guys a lot of fun with that. If you haven't already, follow the Yosu Live channel so you will get an email notification whenever we go live with matches or Suity Fruity or whatever. There's just 1 week left of CWC, but there's plenty of other tournaments coming as well, so you might want to check that out. Support us through that, and if you're feeling really generous, you can also subscribe to the channel, which will all go into the tournament funding, and we'll love you for that. Still have banners on the website as well if you want to support your favorite team that's in the tournament, or maybe even
actually
a team that's not quite in the tournament anymore.
Wait, about for the banners, I think this is probably the last time you could buy the banners. So if you didn't buy banners, do it now, because in the grand finals you won't be able to buy them.
Very important. So buy them. So check them out. They look nice on your profile. And if you pick the winning team, it'll stay on your profile for a little bit longer. They're $2.50. So it's not a lot of money. It goes to the tournament pool once again, and we'll love you for it. We'll very much appreciate all of that. And yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching this Suity Fruity recap once again. I did say correctly. Yes, I haven't said Fruity Suity this time a single time in this podcast. I want to thank Nelly and JB Hyperion tons for being here once again and giving your thoughts. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Like as the sun said, match in 5 minutes. If you go anywhere, don't go far. Come back soon. Nelly and I will be commentating that one, and it's going to be so exciting. We're looking forward to it. So I hope you all are too.
Oh boy.
Yeah, good winners bracket matchup coming indeed. So stay here, stay tuned, get yourself a quick drink if you need to, and we'll be back in about 4-ish minutes. Take care, everybody. See you in 4.